Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you're all well. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving and that you're getting ready to celebrate the next holiday, however that may look for you. Um, my tree is up. I cannot say enough about how cute the Walmart decorations have been in the last couple of years. And what I do is at the end of each year, I've always done this, but at the end of each year when the Christmas decorations go 50% off and 75 the next week, whatever, I buy a couple of decorations or whatever for the next year. And because I'm moderately senile, it's great because I just put them away. And then when I go to get them out for the next year, it's kind of like early Christmas because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Oh, wow. Oh, I don't even remember buying this. But I got the cutest ornaments last year from Walmart. I really like the whimsical, the metallics, the pink metallic and the blue metallic and silver things. I do have my area for the red and green decorations, but they're separate from the tree because I like that whimsy look. So before I go too far here, let's say, because the bots need to know, even though you know that I create my own, I don't take from anybody, I don't take anybody's content, take 75% of it, and say that I need super chats, y'all for them tots for kids. I need to take somebody else's content because I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground, and I don't know what to say, so I'm going to steal somebody else's content and ask for toys for tots. Super chats. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to make somebody else's. Yeah, right. There are Toys for Tots boxes all over everywhere. Please donate to those or other reputable charities. Give to those locally, but please do not give to those people who steal other people's content, squash their channels, and try to do it all in the name of Toys for Tots. Because I'm telling you, it happened. Y'all know what happened. Y'all called that creator out. That creator's back doing the same shit, different day. So, I'm not creating content for it to steal. So, don't give to these people on YouTube. Just, if you feel like you listened and you liked what they heard, give them enough for a cup of coffee. That's what this should be. Creators should earn. If they want to do this, they should earn from getting the views and for their own work. Much like if you're having a conversation with somebody that you really liked, you say, hey, let me buy coffee. Let me buy you lunch. That's what it should be. This BS of people needing to go places and go to other states and get airfare and hotel and all this. They pocket that. They've pocketed it. They've made so much off of tragedies, and it's disgusting, and none of it ever comes out to be true. They never come out with their tax deductions showing that they gave this much to Toys for Tots or any other thing. They gave to their own tots, okay? So, and no, I'm not talking about, okay, if you know, you know. I want you to leave it at that. So anywho, I create my own content. But still, for the benefits of the bots at YouTube, let me say this. I am doing this content under fair use, under the Fair Use Act and Disclaimer in Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, where allowance must be made for fair use using the four-factor balancing act test. Then number one, a small portion of the original material is used. That means that if you go to somebody else's channel, you don't print off what they did, read off 90% of it, complain about them giving little insights and backstories, and hijack it and say you want. So anyway, I went back. Sorry. Number two, that the new work is critique, satire, or education. That means that you are taking what somebody has created, you're taking their creation and you're using it to show a broader point and whatnot. You don't take somebody else's work and call it your. Anyway, I'm going to need a shot collar for that whole little thing. And that the commercial value of the original is not diminished. That means that you don't take somebody else's hard work, take it for your own, and try and make it super chats so that then you're up there thinking that you're giving all this money to other people, and people think you're giving this money to Toys for Tots when the other person's hard work and dedication is squashed and you shit on them while using their work. All right, you get it. Number 4, that the new work is predominantly an original product of user. That means that if you take somebody's work, that you don't take all of their work, that you make a whole new creation. Anyway, ridiculous to see the same creators doing the same crap day after day, year after year, getting called out for all of their lies. They hide for a month or two, come back at Griftmas, and want them super chats. Yeah. Super chat this, bitch. Anyway. So, as y'all know, I'm kind of, well, I just stand back and watch at this point. I have so many haters because of the fact that I am not trying to exploit situations for money. So those that do have worked very, very hard to come together to try to get my channel taken down, as you all know. So I lost monetization about 5 months ago, and I just do not feel right trying to make money off of super chats, and I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to play into the system that rewards people who steal other people's content and take away from those that try to do things and stay within the rules. So if you do still watch my channel, which I thank you so much for doing, please feel free to fast forward through all of the ads because I am not monetized. Those ads go straight to YouTube. They make money off of my creation, and I don't get a cent of it. So please feel free to fast forward through them. If you were watching my old videos, some things don't make sense because when I was making them, there was a lot of other things going on that I would address in the beginning. And so that might not make sense to you if you weren't there. So I thank you for getting through that. The other thing is that the haters love to take one thing out of what I said and twist it around. So if I make it a little bit more difficult for them to have to listen longer, well, that's what I've done. If I just go out and say the two things that they want to take, well, what fun is that? So this video is mainly going to be focused on the watts. And as many of you know, that's where I started. And I have taken a very different approach to what I observed. And I took what I observed and took all of the information, every single shred of information that I could procure myself so that I could be sure that the documents that I was obtaining came from an original source. They were not given to me by somebody else who may have had an agenda of their own. And I took all of that information and I did my own work and I did my own deep dives on everything. And I came to my own conclusions. I asked the tough questions. I took that and combined it with my background in forensic psychology and came to a standpoint where I don't feel that I can make any difference in the way that things are at this point. When and if I do speak out, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. Currently, there is one Reddit that is really making progress in my opinion, getting down to the facts and the truth. They have the best moderators there because the moderators there can see through the BS and they don't have an agenda of their own. It is called Watts Free for All. And none of us care if you have a different opinion. It doesn't matter if you think this way or if you don't think this way. The only problem is that when you attack somebody else for the way that they believe, then you're gone. And that's the modus operandi of a shiner. They want to take one thing from what you've said, exploit it, smash it, make you look like an idiot, run to their mummy and ramble about it, wink, wink, and then run to Cranky Jr., who's a part of all of this mummy rumblings and all of this stuff, and they think that they are doing things by, once again, raising money. Why? Is money going to stop what happened? Is money going to bring them back? Is money what caused all of this? Yeah. So why should money continue to be a factor in this unthinkable tragedy? So once again, look at the people who are raising money and see them for the problem that they are. Follow the money and you'll see the problem. The shiners aren't even liked by their leaders, okay? It is my opinion that the leader of the shiners and the shining light channel and all that stuff, they don't even like the shiners. They've just learned how to exploit the shiners for money. Because if the idiots feel that they're giving money to something, then they feel like they're liked and that they're appreciated and they've done something. Nah, they've just been suckered out of their money. And the people who are making money by perpetually putting these pictures out, trying to venerate their shenan, get her anointed for sainthood, if you will, are doing nothing to stop another tragedy like this from happening. And if we do not look at the truth in this particular tragedy, it can happen again. And I'll be damned if I am the one who stands by and kisses ass to whoever, because it might offend somebody. Because bottom line here is that in that home on Saratoga Trail, there was unspeakable abuse of every single type going on in that home. Dysfunctional abuse that led to the unthinkable. And because this family was photogenic, it sold headlines. It sold headlines because it had the kind of people who don't think deeply buying those narratives and those headlines and sending money where it shouldn't go. Money chasing money is how this began. And abuse of every aspect of a human was being conducted. But that doesn't make a headline. They so badly want this to be just another case of the man gone wrong. That man acting up again because the woman didn't make the sandwich right. So that man, you can't ever trust him. Might have an underlying case of rabies, those men. You have to make that sandwich right. Or, good God, you go away for a week to visit the family. You're going to come back and he's going to end you all. Those men. Does that sound right? Does Christopher Watts look like the kind of man who sat there as a child and took the legs off of spiders, watched their bodies bounce around? You look like you sat there on playgrounds waiting for kids to, go and unalive them? Nah, not at all. But that's the kind of person that belongs where he is without the possibility of parole. We in our society have a system of justice that works to be sure that the innocent are never put where they do not belong. Are there innocent people behind bars? Yes. Is Christopher Watts innocent? I don't know. But I do know that he has a story to tell, and that by denying him parole, that story is never going to be told. And without that story being told, you let the abuser win. The people that want to promote the narrative and the agenda, that Shanann was just this sweet woman who was doing all that she could. She worked so hard. She was the best little sales girl you ever did see. And she sat there and she worked so hard and she loved those kids and she was the best mommy ever. And, at Chris, yeah. I mean, he's just a dog. I mean, he basically fucked anything that had two legs. Look at him. And then she came back and she must have walked in on like him having an affair or something because what happened? Because, that she was just the girls and she did everything. And Chris, just a monster, absolute monster, wasn't paying attention to her at all. He didn't tell her she was pretty. And nope. And so you know what? Yep. She came home. He decided that he wanted to play house with NK better. And so he just did this unthinkable thing and then went, and made sure the house was all pretty for his new wife. And he was just going to start all over. Yeah, if you believe that, go ahead and write a check to Cranky Jr.'s lawsuit fund. Because, you see, Cranky Jr. says that him and his sister were inseparable. That they were the best of friends. And that they basically shared a brain. One thought did not happen without the other thinking it. Nah, they were the best of friends. Inseparable, he calls it. So Cranky Jr. has this fund that's going to sue every single creator on the internet who's ever said anything bad about his sister. And so these little old ladies, they sit there and they write me the most vile shit. And they write about how I'm going to be sued and I'm going to be put in jail and all of these things. And according to them, I'm going to hell for all my lies. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. And you know what? They're giving Cranky Jr. money. And that money has fueled them for years. Yeah, about that nice backyard, outdoor pizza kitchen and every other thing, They'll never have to work another day in their life. They'll never have to sell any more MLMs. Because you see, Shanann and her daddy started selling MLMs when she was just 15 years old. Her and daddy would go and sell that Amway. And she sold every MLM that there is. Except for the ones that I did, I think. Because the ones that I did didn't have any fun. They didn't have any vacations that you could lie about. And that's why the other ones weren't as successful. But, the books, the mascara, the bags, I think she did the smelly stuff. Oh, yeah. She sold it all. But she was not successful in any of them. And she was not successful in Thrive. She cheated her way to the top. She bought her rank. I have done videos on this ad nauseum. I believe that Thrive gave her the gateway and the facade to put herself, her own face, on those pamphlets that show that if you just sell this stuff, to your friends, you want your friends to look great and lose weight too, right? So why wouldn't you share this with them? And then you have all your friends looking great and you go on these vacations with them because you're all looking great and want to spend the days in the sun and have chocolate dripping from fountains and bundt cakes coming in boxes on wagons. If you know. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Well, I don't know about you, but I've seen the pictures of the people that she was selling to and the people that were selling it, and they do not look healthy. They do not look like they are in the best shape of their life. They don't look like anything has happened to them. Now, a lot of people really like that product, and to me personally, I believe that there are vitamins in that product that certain people have difficulties absorbing. So if they are given this very absorbable form of that vitamin, they can feel much better. But it does not cure any diseases, and it does not make you rich. There are very few people who have made it to the top. There are even fewer of those people who have made it to the top by honestly doing the work that it requires. She bought her rank. She used all of Chris Watts' money. She had full control over the money, so he never saw his money. If you listen to the body cam, he didn't even know how to look into the bank account to see if she had went somewhere else and used the ATM somewhere. He had no idea of how to get into his bank account or know where anything went, and she kept it that way. Because she drove him into bankruptcy the way that she came into the relationship claiming bankruptcy. And they would have been on her third bankruptcy and his second. She had him so controlled as she had the girls controlled. And how do you do that? You do that through emotional abuse. You do it through verbal abuse. And you do it by having a lot of yes people around you. And you have a lot of people that you've bullied so intently that they will never question you either. And all of them, every single damn one of them, has blood on their hands. Every time you see the yes girls get together so that they can be on TV again, and they look at each other and they stammer and they talk and they try and look at each other to see who's going to say what, because they don't have anything honestly to say about what she did that made these sales happen, that made her so much more successful than them. You ever think about that? That if you were to believe the narrative, she was superior to all of them. What did she do? What did she say that was so charming and charismatic? If you watch her videos, you can see that she can't even choke that shit down with a straight face. No, she bought all of the product with her husband's money that was supposed to go to the mortgage. She bought product. That's why in the basement there was enough for the apocalypse to happen, and they would have had enough to eat on Thrive, which is what I believe was the only thing she was actually feeding those poor girls, because there was no room left over for money. Because money buys food, and you don't see the girls actually eating food. You see them sampling this crap that she was trying to sell, but there wasn't food. Because, the girls were allergic to food. They were allergic to the air. They were allergic to grass. They were allergic to everything, right? They weren't allergic to shit. She made it sound that way, because then people wouldn't question when she was giving them Benadryl every night. Benadryl that you do not give a child of the age of Cece at all by the FDA. And don't come to me telling me that, your pediatrician said that you can give it to this. That's one thing under the direction of a pediatrician who's putting his license on the line. There was not one pediatrician who told her to do any of the things she was doing. And there is not one pediatrician alive that would sign off on what she was doing. The things that she was saying that the product that she was pimping was doing, she would have been fined $10,000 per post by the FTC. The things that she was claiming the product was doing is illegal to say. She said that the product cured her lupus. And that is why I have a problem with it. And for everybody who doesn't listen to the whole story and the whole thing and everything, and wants to come and say that I don't know that there's different kinds of lupus, and that their grandpa's cousin back in Philadelphia's neighbor had this kind of lupus that's the same as hers, and that I don't know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm talking about. And until you've walked the path that I do, and you've looked at trying to pack up your patient's belongings as she's finally leaving the hospital, because she entered there with lupus and she had a cute pair of shoes, but she's leaving the hospital with no ability to need those shoes. She only has a partial arm left. You've seen lupus. And it isn't running around going on all of these vacations, and it isn't getting on airplanes, and it isn't doing all this shit, and there is no product in the world that's going to cure it. And by saying that, you are acting as if everybody who has that disease is just simply choosing it because there's a cure within reach, right? No, she didn't have lupus. I've explained this ad nauseum. I've explained it all. But nobody wants to listen because they want to follow the headlines. So they want to try and shut my channel down because they want to say that I'm wrong. That's fine. Shut my channel down. I've already taken the ability of me to earn any money on it away. That's fine. Believe the lies. Go ahead. Nobody cares if you don't believe me. But for the people that do, the people that can see the truth, the people that can think beyond the headlines, the people who can see between the black and white, the people who see the gray, who use the gray matter in their brain, those are the people I'm talking to. And those are the people who are right now on a thread in Reddit called Watts Free for All. And they are coming up with the very same conclusions that I did from my research. And I'll watch and they'll post and they'll say something similar to, they think this and that this might be this. And I'm like, yeah, I said that a couple of years ago. I did a video on that. And you know what? People are starting to think outside the box. And they are putting together the truth. And even if Chris Watts did it, doesn't he have the right to explain how, why, when, and what happened? So that it can prevent it from happening again? Why are we so afraid of Christopher Watts speaking? If he did it in that way, if you really believe that in that tiny amount of time, he could have done all this and leaped up those stairs carrying one child each time, blah, 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 blah. He did something because his stomach gave him away. That turd in the desert on Anadarko land speaks for itself. He turded between the hours of then and when he reported to work, and his stomach was saying he did something. But who was with him and why? How did this happen? What happened? How did it happen? Why did it happen? What I think happened belongs right here in, let's see. There's a video that I did. And it talks about, okay, here we are. This one has 23,000 views. It's one of my top videos. And I'm glad, because if you listen to it, you'll understand. Because I said, did Christopher Watts see the hidden mail the day before the unthinkable motive in the Ruzes of the Ruse? This one explains kind of what I see, because when I see that body cam and I see that mail on the seat of the Lexus that was not actually paid for, it was actually dollars being switched by dollars in the house of cards and the house of lies of Shanann Watts. I believe that for the first time, Christopher Watts saw the mail. He hasn't seen the mail in probably 2 years then, because he had, Shanann had her parents getting the mail. Shanann had her friends getting the mail. So even when she was out of town, she had her friends getting the mail. Her biggest fear was Christopher Watts ever seeing the mail, because then he would have known that the house was in foreclosure and that any day now that house was going to be not theirs. The sheriff was going to knock on the door, put everything they owned out on the street, which is why they didn't own much by the time that it was all said and done. Some lawn furniture for furniture. But that's why she went to North Carolina. She knew that the sheriffs were going to come and repossess that house. She never intended on coming back. She thought that she had the plan. She thought that she had the Chris that she'd been having all of the fun with out of town on board, and that they were going to have their baby. and go off into the sunset, and her parents would cover for her again. She'd be living where she was from. And she didn't want the Watts to have a damn thing to do with the kids. But the other Chris said, you're good for a vacation, but you're not good enough for my wife. You're not good enough to be my wife. I'm not divorcing my wife to be with you. And she didn't know what to do. She faced rejection. She'd never faced rejection before. That rejection took the wind out of her sails. And that's where you see her looking so sick and blaming it on Chris Watts. That, oh, Chris isn't saying she's pretty and she's so sick and cramping and all this stuff and losing the baby and all this stuff. But she wouldn't go to the doctor. She hadn't been to a doctor at all in that pregnancy, which if you were a person with lupus on your third pregnancy, saying you're almost 15 weeks pregnancy, you damn sure would have seen a doctor by now. And if you were cramping, would you be getting back on a plane and then back on another plane as soon as you got back on that plane and coming back from a plane? Or no, would your ass be in the ER? Yes, it would. So no, it was not cramping. It was not that. It was that she wasn't eating because she was moping because she got rejected and she didn't know what to do because then she was going to have to go back to Chris Watts and try and make it work. And she didn't want to do that. But she then had to do that. So she wrote him a note that said, okay, you got to forgive me now, okay? So I'm going to give you this book and you've got to read it and it tells you how to forgive me, okay? And then we've got to talk to the real estate agent because we got to get rid of the house. Yeah, that's what we got to do because she was hoping that, oh shit, she could do a quick sale and get Chris into another house or whatever before he even knew that there was no equity in that house. But if in fact he did see the mail that showed that that house was in foreclosure and that she had not been making not only the HOA payments, but she wasn't making the mortgage payments. Probably wasn't making the electricity or anything else. Why else would she have been so afraid of him seeing his own mail? That mail was on the seat of the Lexus. And we know that he was in that car because he went to go and get that TV disc or whatever from his coworker. And the girls were in the back the day before the unthinkable or the day of. So he got the mail that was there. Did he see that mail and did he absolutely freak the hell out and go and confront her when she walked in? And we don't know what happened there? Maybe. But shouldn't he be able to say that? Why was everybody so afraid of what he was going to say? So silence is the name of the game here, folks. Silence keeps that money going to people who don't deserve it. Silence goes to the people who used money to make these kinds of things happen. Where little children are treated like objects and husbands are treated as nothing but a paycheck. And everything is done to make one narcissist's world work. And a narcissist doesn't do the real work. A narcissist doesn't actually sit down and parent. A narcissist locks up little girls for 15 out of 24 hours a day and calls it something she learned in a book. Yeah, I read those books. Doesn't say that at all. But a narcissist would make up all kinds of things about people being sick around her and injured and whatnot to cover their actions. So this post came about yesterday, innocently enough, by somebody who didn't realize what they posted. But oh, what they posted is going to be one of the most pivotal aspects of this case, and the shiners are going to be freaking out right now, and they already are. Somebody posted this, let's see here, move this down a little bit. Okay, this is how I'll do it. So if you go over to the Watts subreddit, and it's called Watts Free For All. They put up this post. Let me find it. Last night. And basically, they were saying, it's Ronnie and Cindy with the girls. Now, I do not know if there's pictures of Bella standing up and she's got water those things on your arms, those water waders, whatever. Bella's standing on the edge of the pool, and her right thigh is standing out towards you. There were 17 pictures in this, and it was just somebody saying, hey, look, Ronnie and Cindy seem to be having fun with the girls. This is the most fun I've seen them have. And so I'm looking through these 17 pictures, and sure enough, there's lots of different outfits that the girls are wearing, but there are some that are the same. And this picture stood out to me because Bella has these horrible freaking bruises on her thigh and butt. And when I saw it, my blood boiled. I zoomed in, thinking, okay, those are shadows, right? Because why else would anybody else have obviously seen these pictures? These pictures have probably been passed back and forth through the Shiner so many times, going, oh, look at those monster Watts with the girls. Oh, yeah. No, the Watts didn't put those bruises on Bella's ass. I'm going to tell you who did. Because I took this picture and I took it out to a couple of people who do very good research. One of them, who I trust very much on this case, and she's seen it all, and she had never seen this. And I said, okay, this looks like belt marks. Has this picture ever been shown anywhere else? And she looked at it, and she said, no, that's not belt marks. That's a handprint. Kind of like when your kids make those little turkeys with their hands, for Thanksgiving, where they put the finger paints on and they do the different feathers, different colors. And she pointed out to me that the main bruise is like the palm of the hand, and then there's fingers. And when I saw it, and she put the little lines there, and I'm going to post that with this video, so you're going to see it. And I want you to tell me if those look like belt marks or hand marks. But there's also something that goes with this picture, because now there were two, there may be another time, but this was one of the times, because Bella's wearing the same swimsuit and she is running. Okay, so Bella is sitting down with Ronnie on a trampoline, and Bella is hunched forward as she always was. And you can see her spine and her shoulder bones sticking out, and she's hunched over. Bella always had that sickly look that Shanann loved to point out. And Cece looked more robust, happy, and whatnot. So with one of these pictures, I should put it next to it, Ronnie is sitting with Bella. Cece is running behind. This may be part of another story, because I'm conflicted on saying this as an absolute, because I don't remember what Bella was wearing for this other situation. So it may be another situation that is coming together, but once again, Shanann would not allow Bella to jump on a trampoline nor run around on it like Cece. Why? Because Shanann was pushing this narrative that Bella was a sick child that couldn't do things like other little girls, and that when it came down to it, both girls were actually so sick. So she was this, overstressed mother. But the whole thing is trying to say this stuff with a straight face, try to say the shit that she tried to push out that other people believed. Try to push this, that she had everybody going on board with the fact that she kept those girls locked up for 15 hours out of every 24 hours as one 12-hour sleeping thing from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., no exceptions, with Benadryl and Tylenol before they went in, locked behind a locked door, separate from each other. No toys were allowed in the room, and they were not allowed bathroom privileges. The bathroom between them was locked because Bella might get to Cece. Okay. And then a noon to 3 nap. That is 15 hours out of a 24-hour day. She started that training. She said it was sleep training from the book, but the book does not say it. Do not blame it on that book, because that book does not say it. She started it with Bella when Bella was before Cece was born. And then she said that she did it. It worked so good with Bella, the sleep training, that she did it with Cece from day one in the hospital. So she put these super loud rain machines so that the girls would not hear her or Chris in the house and call out to them. So how do you control a child to consent to going into a bedroom alone for 15 hours out of a 24-hour day? No food, no interaction, no teaching. That is the stuff of orphanages. And there are people who have looked at Bella and said she looks like she's in an orphanage. If you just looked at her and straight up saw this. And all of these yes women and yes everybody around her, this is what they were allowing because Shanann said it. And Shanann had Chris going along with the whole routine. He was going around with these keys on his belt like a freaking janitor. But every once in a while, he'd sneak in and bring them little sandwiches in the middle of the night because he felt bad for them. That does not sound like a man who would do what he's accused of doing. When I bring that up, they're like, no, he was probably in there doing gross things with the girls then. Fuck off. So I put this picture out there and I said, this bothers me. What is this? And as soon as I did it, I started getting comments on my YouTube channel and back on the thing. Let me see here if I can show it. Because I said, what is this? I said, this is disgusting. So there was this one time when she was on the trampoline. And you guys will remember this. That Shanann said, no, Bella cannot be on the trampoline. No, Bella's having problems walking because of her ankles. She's having problems walking, so she has to have special shoes. She's going to need special shoes. Because, another thing to get money out of people. Because she had to have Chris's office give money for special pillows for the girls that needed rectal temperatures every night because she was saying they had Mediterranean familial fevers. No doctor is going to tell you to give two little girls anal probes every night. But then that's why Bella was sticking toys up her behind too. And I pointed this out. Every time I point out the obvious abuse, I get attacked beyond belief. But then you see Cece running behind Bella, and in one of the videos where Bella was not allowed to jump on the trampoline, had to sit down, Bella would laugh at Cece and do little hand motions, and Shanann was like, oh, good, Bella, helping Cece run around. That's good, Bella. Well, Bella's wearing the same swimsuit that she was standing up with this huge bruise on her ass. Is that why Bella couldn't walk very well? Is this trampoline right before or after Nutgate? Nutgate was the big old fight that Shanann staged so that the Watts wouldn't be able to see the girls. Well, Shanann was running off in the 6 weeks trying to convince the other Chris to marry her. So I said something about these bruises, and let me show you the comments I've been getting. Let's see here. Okay, so this Amy McCovey. Oh my God, people complain about their kids and pets all the time. Doesn't mean crap. She was murdered. Stop victim blaming. Her husband could have easily divorced her, period. Oh God, fuck off. Okay, so let's see here. So this was 8 hours ago. So what happens when I put something of a factual nature up on Reddit, they go to my channel because good people have been listening to my channel, watching my videos. And so they'll go to any video anywhere that says something and they'll just read the title. They won't listen to the whole thing. But this was right in the time period. So right after I wrote something on Reddit about how this was disgusting, I get this comment. So let me see here. Where does it say? Oh, in caps. No excuses to murder someone. Okay, thank you, Primary. When I see comments like this, and I think about the way that rapture sounds, and they say that big amount of people is going to be gone. I think it might be the culling of all idiots, and that maybe God's just going to keep the people who can actually think outside the freaking box on the planet and get rid of these people who cannot think for themselves. Because this person went and tried to find something about me, and then right on under the comments, then somebody put these big laughing emojis about me saying that was, what is this bruise, and then she said that me and the other person commenting on it sound insane. So now we're crazy for bringing it. Now just watch what's going to happen is that I am going to have all of these idiots write me comments on my videos or wherever, and they're going to be like, my daughter was on the playground and she went over this bridge thing and she got the exact same bruise on her ass. It means nothing. Chris is a monster, and you're victim blaming, and no excuses to murder someone. The fuck is making any excuses about murdering anybody? Why do they keep saying this? They're so stupid. And then they're like, this is victim bashing. Okay, Amy McCovey, let's see what other comments you've made on my channel. 2 subscribers, so it's just a throwaway channel for her. Oh, she aced 10 quizzes. Okay, so a lot of times when I get these, it's just like I say, people with they'll have like 2 subscribers, nothing else. She hasn't written anything else here. Has had the profile since 2020. Generally, they're sent here from Mummy Rumblings and God, whoever else. Mummy Rumblings is the big one, and then any Shiner channel will be one, and they will just say things about me, and they'll just send all of these people. So I imagine this is what's going to happen. So what I would love to see happen is if the people out here who are actually smart enough to not believe narratives and see that they are problematic were on YouTube, and the ones on this Reddit with the best mods ever got together and continue to talk, because you guys are doing what Shiners fear most, and that is getting to the truth. And that's, like I say, that's what the Shiners fear. Let's see here. This one I haven't read yet, 17 hours ago. Let's see here. Let's see what this one says. Oh, that's a nice compliment. Oh, I got something nice from somebody. Thank you. So Hazel's mom forever says it makes so much more sense that SW went after the kids, as she was the one angry that he moved on to someone else. She was emotionally burned out after having to play mom for 6 weeks. CW was never cold or unbonded to his girls. She was. That's why we are all stuck on Watts Island, because we have been lied to about the facts. May the truth be brought to light. Enjoying the heck out of your content, Tabitha Jane. Thank you, Hazel's mom forever. I really appreciate that. The only thing that I would point out is that she did not, in fact, play mom for 6 weeks. She dumped the kids at her parents. Her parents had, in fact, lived with them for over 18 months. By all reports, she used them as much as she possibly could. They were raising the girls. During that time, Christopher's parents were allowed to visit. The girls were loved. The only problems that you see where Shanann is pinching, flicking, grabbing the girls, where we've heard horrible smacks in the background, etc., is when the parents were not living there, when she was forced to actually play mom, but then she'd just catch a plane and get the hell out of there and leave some strict instructions for Christopher to follow. So when she went out there for 6 weeks, she actually had 2 little MLM, at least 2 MLM vacations inside of that. So the girls were basically, they did go to the Watts, they did see the cousins, and then she pitched the fit. Nutgate said that there was razors all over, etc., which I believe Nutgate was just the big thing so that then Chris's parents would not be able to ask the questions about where is Shanann, because Shanann was other places with who I believe the father of Nico was, and who she had put on to be the next Chris, because each husband had a role, and it did not include them having any feelings, emotions, ideas of their own. Everybody to her was an object for her to control. Does that mean that I don't know that she was, I don't know what happened in that house, and nobody does. Where's the crime scene? You know what I mean? But so yeah, she didn't have to. She actually couldn't even fly alone with the girls. She flew her daddy in to fly with her with the girls. She couldn't even figure out how to fly on an airplane she couldn't. I can't even. This woman got away with so much, not ever having to lift a frickin' finger. She had everybody else doing everything for her. It took a village to make her world work right. And everybody did it because everybody was afraid of what would happen if they spoke up against her. And they are still afraid to this day. Thank you so much for watching Hazel's Mom Forever. I really appreciated opening this and finding something. God, something nice. I really appreciate that. Hazel's Mom Forever. I am right now currently getting 10 claws injected into me because I'm not handing out a treat. So thank you, Hazel. I appreciate it. And let me get a treat here because all right. So see, Boo Boo, if you guys remember Boo Boo from when I did my videos, Boo Boo is my little man cat, and he loves it when I'm focused on something else. Well, he doesn't love it. He gets very angry about it, in fact. So he'll put all 10 of his claws in me at once, like I'm not expecting it, and it'll be this 10 claw injection until I, scream out in pain like I just did. Sorry for anybody who was listening in headphones. And I give him a treat. Boo, this is your 4th treat. You're gonna get fat. And then what am I gonna do? Because am I gonna put you on a diet? Huh? I showed a picture of Boo online, and somebody said that it looked like his head was photoshopped on his body, because what's happening is his whole body is growing because of the massive amount of treats that he commands from me, but his head isn't growing at the same rate because I don't think the head can. So he's fat now. He's got kind of the back of him kind of looks, well, he's fat. Okay. Anyway, the truth has to come out. When I look at the headlines on other things, it'll be something like this. I've tried to look at other channels, and there's a full Chris Watts prison interview, or they'll say, Chris now says this, that NK made him do it, and they do all this stuff. You look at it, and you have to critically look at every single thing and see that, no, they are not asking Chris the right questions. They are taking something that they heard, that they are making into their own agenda to make their own channel grow, to make their own agenda, to form this narrative of their own. They're not thinking objectively. They're not truly breaking this down. A true forensic psychologist takes whatever has happened and breaks it down and puts it back together. And I have yet to see a true forensic psychologist take this apart and put it back together in ways that make sense. The only way to do it is to look at this for what it is and see the levels of abuse that were going on and accepted. Boo, that was my kneecap. Ow. Oh. Boo. And yes, these are not the treats that, cause the problems with them. These are full meat sticks, which they say you can have 1 a day. Now he's up to 5. Do any of you have these problems with your animal? No. Good Lord, Boo. That hurt. Oh, God. You drew blood. Anyway. I don't have any way. I have never talked to Chris Watts himself. I have never been able to get a letter to him. His prison is one where it does not accept letters whatsoever. It is all electronic, and in that, I believe you have to put a credit card with your real name and whatnot on there. And I don't want to do that. I have never spoken with his parents in any way. Or anybody like that. So there's nothing like that going on. It's just that I took all of this objectively, and from what I really see, and knowing some of the way that headlines are put together to make money, this one just doesn't ever fit to me. And I know that it doesn't fit to others because arguably it is a very, very much talked about case. The other case that is talked about as much or more, of course, just because of the longevity, is JonBenét. Now, if you look at JonBenét's case and you look at this case, they were in very near proximity to each other, both in areas of Colorado that would have had the same or very intricately related police agencies screwing everything up. Because while I understand that there are good police officers and there are bad police officers, there are also inexperienced police officers and federal officers for that matter. And I do not believe that a thorough and competent investigation has ever been conducted in the Watts case. As I say, where is the crime scene? What happened? Where is the DNA? Where is all the testing? Where has this crime been able to be reconstructed by law enforcement? You go on, and you say the same thing for JonBenét. As more and more is coming out about JonBenét, and JonBenét's father is speaking out, you hear the errors and you hear the misinformation that was brought out once again to sell headlines. They had JonBenét that was so photogenic that she could be on every cover and everybody'd buy that magazine. So in our ever-changing world where mainstream media is being exposed for not being necessarily factual, they're more into money, more and more the truth will come out. But my question here needs to be, if Chris did it, why can't he sit down and explain what happened in a way that makes sense? Why is it so important for his silence? Why was it so important for him to be put away and never able to tell his story? Who's scared of that truth? One of the things about Cranky Jr.'s lawsuit that he put out there, he put out this big thing in his lawsuit. He put out that these mean people who are saying bad things about my sister even say that I'm a child abuser. And yeah, you are. You are a convicted child abuser. You beat up your girlfriend's 2-year-old. There happens to be a police report and you were convicted. But these people who believe him and think, oh, poor Cranky Jr. just can't get on because he, was so close to his sister, he can't put one foot in front of the other. He had only met Cece on that visit where he was there for the last 6 weeks. He'd never met Cece, so how was he inseparable from Shanann? There were reports that when he came out and visited, he was treated like, what was the word? What's the man name for a maid? A butler. He was treated as Shanann's butler and he went back home. So many lies. Why are the lies more important? Why were people smiling and laughing while children were being flicked, intimidated, put away for 15 hours, and walking around with bruises like that? I'm going to get an onslaught of people. Oh, yeah, children deserve a good smack in the ass. Even the Bible says so. And then there's this Rumpelstiltskin looking bitch who's going to come and she will say this stuff. Tabitha Jane, I'm telling you, I'm coming for your channel. Your channel's going to get taken down. And I look at everybody's profile that comes for me, and I look at them and their weird ass videos, and they'll be like following the Illuminati, and they'll be religious. 99% of the time they are following some weird shit. They have weird, filthy, dirty houses. Weirdos that'll want to defend this. And they'll say, well, this is just one time. All children have bruises. Nah, not a bruise like that. And not her being forced to sit down and that she needed special shoes. No, those girls weren't sick. It was important for Shanann to control all of the narratives. And now, who's continuing those narratives? The people making the money. So, I will close in saying, watch where the money's going. That's where the problems are. That's how this whole thing started, with greed and money and lies. And so keep being pillars of the truth. And where I believe the truth is being found is in this Watts free-for-all. And come together. Come together as people looking for the truth, because it makes you a better person and able to identify abuse in all of its forms. And I don't care how educated you are, how much money you have, or how much money you don't have. If you are a victim of abuse, male or female, it's bigger than you. It's not anything you control, especially if you're trying to get out. Please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They have great options, and they'll be able to just talk you through things and listen and help you get a plan. And they're not going to call anybody in your area and sell you out. Look it up. National Domestic. You know what? Here, I'll do the Google. You know, I was thinking the other day, what if we took away the word Google and we put God? Because isn't it almost like godlike, where you are thinking something and the answers already come up, and how fast the Google can do things? You're like, let's ask God here. Let's see. Let's ask God. Because maybe God is the Google. Okay, let me see here. National Domestic Violence Hotline. Help is available. You can actually text. You can text 88788. So 88788. Remember that, 88788. Or you can call 1-800-799-7233. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233. And with the National Domestic Violence Hotline, they have services in English, Spanish, and 200 plus languages through interpretation services. They are open 24/7. So whether you're a woman or a man and you're being abused, it does not have to be that you're being physically abused. Verbal abuse is abuse. Mental, psychological abuse is abuse. Talk it over with somebody. Get out. There are better options. The options that occurred, whatever happened on Saratoga Trail, are not the right answers. And the things that are continuing on Saratoga Trail, very sad, very sad. You can also call 411, and that can lead you to other services in your area. And 211 is also a community resource option. But there are people who have lived through the kind of abuse that happened on Saratoga Trail. And they see what I see. Because they know what I know. And if you look at it statistically, thankfully, we are in the minority that kind of abuse is not common enough that it is the majority, because it takes a person who already has the need to abuse from whatever happened to them to go and find their victim, create more victims within their family, whether by birth or however they want to create that little circle within them that they need to do to continue their abusive ways, because they need it. That's the way that they derive enough pleasure to continue on. But they need to be identified as the abuser. And for any idiot who's going to write that I am bashing murder victims and that no one needs to get murdered and everything, just please fuck off. I don't need to hear it. I don't care what you think. I'm just going to look at your channel and see that you're a fucking idiot. You can't think outside the box. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about abuse of children and abuse going on that other people saw and didn't do anything about. The only people that ever spoke up and spoke against Shanann were Christopher's parents. And why is it that they are vilified? They're vilified by the same idiots that'll sit there and come over here and say that I am bashing murder victims. And idiots. With that, I don't know that I'll get on again. But I do watch and I do see people coming together, and that pleases me, that the truth may be exposed, because the truth is what identifies abuse, so that what happened to Bella and Cece will never happen again. That's what we need to strive for. We need to strive for a world that calls out abuse and doesn't accept it because they don't want to piss off the Shananns of the world. Well, piss off the Shananns of the world. Say no. Say this isn't acceptable. Say whatever you're doing needs to stop. And don't be a part of it. Make 2025 the year that you identify things and that you see the truth and keep speaking the truth and keep finding the truth. And with that, I'll close. And I'll wish you a happy 2025. Thank you for listening.